You don't drop a crown because you don't see its worth. You drop it because you're blind to its glow. Welcome, chosen ones, the walking miracles, the rare treasures, the divine appointments. Let's not mince words here. They didn't just fumble you, they humiliated themselves on a cosmic level. Imagine throwing away a priceless diamond thinking it's a pebble, only to realize later you're left holding dirt. That's them. Oh, how foolish, how blind, how utterly embarrassing for them. A fool's crown isn't stolen, it's thrown away, thinking it's worthless. That's the tragedy of those who fumble the chosen ones. Picture their faces now, the ones who thought they could dismiss you, overlook you, or underestimate you. Those same faces are now frozen in regret, scrolling through your success with shaky hands, their jealousy choking harder than their pride ever did. It's almost pitiful. Almost. They thought they had you figured out, but their shallow minds couldn't even scratch the surface of your depth. They played small games with a big blessing, and now they've lost both the game and the blessing. And the worst part? They're still trying to piece together the puzzle of how they messed up so badly. But it's not a puzzle, it's a mirror, and when they look into it, all they see is the face of a fool. Let them stew in their own regret, watching from the sidelines as you thrive, as your divine favor carries you places they'll only dream of. And to you, yes, you, the chosen one, thank you for showing up, standing tall, and being the light in a world that didn't deserve you. Your presence and super gifts are the lifeblood of this mission, proof that even in a world that fumbles diamonds, brilliance cannot be dimmed. You are not just here by chance, you are here by divine design. Your journey is the evidence of your power, and their embarrassment is the proof of your worth. So, if you're ready to claim the strength they underestimated, if you're done playing small for people who never saw your value, and if you're ready to rise higher than ever before, show the world what the chosen ones are made of. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments as a declaration. You're not just surviving the isolation, you're using it as your launchpad to greatness. Let's expose the embarrassment of their fumble and ignite the fire of your transformation. Let's dive in. Number 1. They mistook your calm for permission to disrespect. Their biggest blunder, confusing your calm for weakness. They looked at your steady demeanor, your refusal to engage in petty drama, and thought it was an open invitation to take advantage of you. They assumed your patience meant you wouldn't notice their sly comments, their manipulation, or the way they pushed boundaries that should have never been crossed. They took your calm as a green light to disrespect you. But they couldn't have been more wrong. Your calm wasn't weakness. It was power under control. It was the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove their worth to anyone. It was a shield, a deliberate choice to rise above their chaos instead of getting dragged into it. They thought they could test you without consequences, but all they really did was expose their own foolishness. They underestimated the divine force surrounding you, the protection that doesn't need loud declarations to be effective. And then came the breaking point, the moment they pushed too far. You didn't lash out, you didn't stoop to their level. Instead, you stepped back, detached, and left them floundering in their own mess. That's when the realization hit them like a freight train. Your calm wasn't passive, it was active. You weren't tolerating them, you were assessing them. And when they proved themselves unworthy, you cut the cord without hesitation. Now they sit in the aftermath, replaying their mistakes in their heads, trying to figure out how they fumbled someone so rare, so untouchable. They see you thriving, untouched by their attempts to break you, and it's eating them alive. What they thought was submission was your silent strength. What they saw as weakness was your restraint. They failed to understand that the calmest waters run the deepest, and you, chosen one, were never shallow. You've shown them the ultimate embarrassment, walking away from their games with your dignity intact, while they're left scrambling to pick up the pieces of their fragile egos. And now they know, without a doubt, that they didn't just lose you, they lost the favor and the grace that came with you. Their foolishness is their punishment, and your calm victory is the loudest silence they will ever hear. Number 2. They thought their approval was the crown you needed. Oh, how laughable it was. Their belief that their validation was the key to your worth, as if their opinions could define the glow that was always within you. They thought they held the power, the seal of approval you craved to confirm your significance. But their first and gravest mistake was thinking you ever needed their applause to shine. They saw themselves as gatekeepers, standing at the doors of your confidence, assuming their recognition was the golden ticket. They believed that withholding compliments, offering crumbs of praise, or feigning support would keep you tethered, scrambling to prove yourself worthy of their acknowledgement. But chosen ones don't play by those rules. You don't wait for others to grant you permission to rise. You simply rise. You've always known your worth, etched into you by a divine hand that doesn't require human signatures. Their approval? Background noise at best, static in the grand symphony of your purpose. They never understood that their validation was never your currency. While they postured, expecting you to beg for scraps of recognition, you moved with a quiet, unshakable confidence that left them unsettled. You knew the truth. True power doesn't come from their nods of approval. It flows from within, from the divine source that chose you. And yet, they fumbled. They thought they were holding the reins, playing the puppet master, pulling the strings. But when they looked up, you were already out of reach, soaring higher than their games could reach. The game they thought you were playing? You weren't even on the field. They miscalculated, believing you needed what they had to offer, when in reality, their opinions were as weightless as a feather in the wind. You never bent to their standards, never sought their recognition like they expected. You didn't need their praise to thrive because your confidence didn't come from their validation. It came from your divine essence. Now, they sit in their confusion, scratching their heads and wondering how their approval failed to control you. They thought their attention was the prize you were chasing, but you've shown them otherwise. Their embarrassment is almost palpable, a bitter realization that their validation was as meaningless as their attempts to withhold it. They see now that the light you carry was never theirs to grant, dim, or claim. They wanted to be the ones who discovered you, to slap their name on your success, as if it was their doing. They wanted to say, "Look at what we created, who we supported." But the harsh truth they're now choking on is that you didn't need them. You never did. Your shine is unclaimed, untamed, and wholly yours, fueled by forces far beyond their comprehension. The sting of their misstep isn't just in losing you. It's in realizing they never had you in the first place. They thought they could manipulate you into believing their approval mattered. But instead, you've left them in the dust, watching you thrive in a way they can neither understand nor replicate. This is the burden they'll carry now. The realization that their validation was never the crown you needed. It wasn't even a jewel in your journey. And that knowledge, it stings more than they'll ever admit. They thought their words could make or break you, but your strength comes from a source that their small minds could never grasp. You didn't need them then, and you certainly don't need them now. That's a truth they'll have to live with for the rest of their lives, while you continue to rise, chosen one, untouched by their games, and unstoppable in your purpose. Number 3. They thought you were just another face in the crowd. They thought you were replaceable. In their arrogance, they believed you were just another fleeting presence, a temporary contributor, someone who brought value, but not the kind of value they couldn't find elsewhere. They convinced themselves they could mishandle you, take you for granted, or walk away entirely because, in their mind, someone else could easily fill the space you left behind. What a tragic miscalculation. What they didn't understand, what they failed to see, is that you were never just someone. You were a force, a once-in-a-lifetime presence, the kind of person who doesn't merely occupy a role, but redefines it entirely. Your energy, your wisdom, your calm in their chaos, none of that can be replicated, no matter how hard they try. You weren't just a part of their world. You were the reason parts of their world even functioned. They thought they could build without you, but now they're standing in the rubble of their poor decisions, realizing you were the foundation they should have protected. Your value wasn't surface level. It wasn't the kind of fleeting, replaceable impact they're used to. It was deep, transformative, rooted in the essence of who you are. You didn't just show up and exist. You left fingerprints on their lives, reshaped their perspectives, and brought meaning to spaces that were once hollow. You were the quiet light in their darkness, the glue holding things together, and they didn't even know it until it was too late. Now, they're starting to see the truth in the most painful way possible. Their attempts to fill the void you left have only made it more obvious how irreplaceable you are. The substitutes they've tried, they lack your depth, your authenticity, your brilliance. The people they thought could do what you did, they can't even come close. And with every failure, the cracks in their foundation grow deeper, more visible, more humiliating. They fumbled you, chosen one, because they were blind to your rarity. They saw you through the lens of their own insecurities, reducing you to someone they thought they could afford to lose. But they underestimated you, and that will haunt them. It's embarrassing for them now, watching you rise without them, thriving in ways they never imagined. They're left trying to reconcile the gaping hole in their lives, a hole only you could fill, and knowing they'll never get you back. Your presence was a divine gift, one they mishandled and discarded as though it were ordinary. But chosen ones aren't ordinary. You are marked, protected, and destined for greatness that their short-sightedness could never contain. They thought you were replaceable. Now, they know the truth. People like you don't come around twice. Their failure to see that will remain their greatest regret and your triumph. Number 4. They failed to recognize the aura of the chosen one. They failed to grasp the significance of your aura, chosen one, because they lacked the depth to understand what they were encountering. Your energy is not just magnetic, it's divine, a force that transforms spaces and hearts without effort. This isn't something that can be taught, faked, or replicated. It is a gift, a signature of the chosen, radiating from your very being, impossible to ignore and yet underestimated by those too blind to see its true value. They were drawn to you, captivated by something they couldn't quite define. But instead of cherishing it, they misjudged it as mere charisma, a surface-level charm they thought they could dismiss or take for granted. What they didn't understand is that your aura isn't just about presence, it's about impact. It's the energy that changes the entire atmosphere when you step into a room. It's the way people feel comforted, understood, and inspired just by being near you. Your strength, your wisdom, your authenticity, These aren't things they encounter every day, but instead of honoring it, they overlooked it. They underestimated the essence of what it means to be chosen. Your aura is a manifestation of divine protection, a reflection of the higher purpose you carry. It's not something that can be diminished by their ignorance or mishandling. They saw it as common because they couldn't comprehend its rarity. They wanted to reduce you to something they could label, control, or replace. But chosen ones cannot be boxed in or simplified. Your energy is too vast, too profound for their limited understanding. And now they feel it, the void your departure left behind. That pull they once took for granted is gone, and their world feels emptier without you in it. They didn't just lose a connection, they lost something irreplaceable. The wisdom and strength you exuded are nowhere to be found in their current circles. The authenticity you carried can't be mimicked, no matter how hard they try. They fumbled something rare, and now they're left grappling with the hollow realization that they mishandled a gift they were never prepared to receive. Chosen one, their failure to recognize your aura speaks to their own limitations, not yours. They thought they could diminish what they didn't understand, but your light isn't dependent on their acknowledgement. You are marked, protected, and destined to thrive beyond their reach. Their blindness to your value is their burden to carry, while your divine energy continues to shine brighter, touching lives that truly recognize and appreciate what it means to encounter someone chosen. Number 5. They thought they could break what's unbreakable. They underestimated your resilience because they mistook your silence for weakness and your grace for fragility. They assumed that without their support, without their approval or assistance, you would falter. They believed they had the power to control your rise, that throwing obstacles in your path, creating chaos in your life, or simply withdrawing from you would be enough to stop you. But oh, how they misjudged you. What they never understood is that your strength has never been external. It has always come from within. You were never dependent on their help, their validation, or their presence to thrive. Your resilience isn't a product of their favor. It's forged in the fires of challenges they couldn't even fathom. The very chaos they created to break you only became the furnace that tempered your spirit, making you unshakable. They assumed you'd crumble under the weight of their sabotage, but instead, you rose like a phoenix from the ashes of their schemes. They thought they were writing your downfall, yet every setback they placed in your way became a stepping stone to your triumph. They weren't prepared for the outcome. They couldn't imagine you thriving without them, let alone excelling in ways that left them in the dust. Their arrogance blinded them to your true nature, and now they're forced to confront the harsh truth. Their influence was never as significant as they believed. The beauty of resilience lies in its quiet defiance, and you, chosen one, embody that perfectly. You didn't need to shout your comeback or seek revenge. Instead, you let your growth speak volumes. Your silence became a roar, your composure a testament to your inner strength. While they stumbled in their attempts to undermine you, you stood firm, drawing on the divine power that surrounds and protects you. They thought you were fragile, not realizing that you were bending only to withstand the storm, never to break. Now they're left watching you rise higher than ever, a constant reminder of their failure. Their embarrassment comes not just from realizing their efforts were futile, but from seeing the glaring difference between who you are and who they assumed you to be. They see now that your resilience is untouchable, a divine gift that they could never take away or diminish. Their attempts to derail you have only highlighted their own fragility. They believed they had the upper hand, but they were merely playing against a force far greater than themselves. Your success without them isn't just your victory. It's their humiliation. a public revelation that their impact on your life was never as profound as they imagined. So here you stand, chosen one, unbreakable and unbothered, thriving in a way that leaves them scrambling to make sense of their failure. Their biggest mistake wasn't underestimating your resilience, it was daring to test it in the first place. Now, they're left to live with the knowledge that they tried and failed to break what was divinely unbreakable. Number 6. They mistook your forgiveness for permission. They took your forgiveness and twisted it into something it wasn't. In their minds, your grace, your willingness to let go of their wrongs, was a weakness they could exploit. They saw your mercy as a crack in your armor, a sign that they could push further, cross more boundaries, and test your patience without consequences. What they didn't see, what they couldn't comprehend, was the immense strength it takes to forgive. They failed to understand that your forgiveness wasn't about them. It was about freeing yourself from the chains of their betrayal. They thought your forgiveness was permission. They mistook your ability to move forward as a sign of foolishness, as if you didn't notice the lies, the disrespect, the games they played. But you saw it all. You were never blind to their actions. You simply chose not to let their toxicity live rent-free in your mind. Forgiving them wasn't about excusing their behavior. It was about reclaiming your peace, refusing to let their actions dictate your happiness. That decision was your power, but they couldn't see it. In their arrogance, they believed your mercy was infinite. They thought they could keep coming back, apologizing just enough to get back into your good graces, only to repeat the same patterns. They misjudged you, thinking your kindness was a revolving door they could walk through whenever they pleased. But chosen ones don't operate that way. Forgiveness, for you, wasn't about opening the door to them again. It was about closing it and locking it for good. Now, as the door remains shut, they're left to grapple with the magnitude of their mistake. They overplayed their hand, taking a rare and precious gift, your forgiveness, and squandering it with their arrogance. They assumed they could keep testing you, pushing the boundaries you set, and that you would continue to tolerate their behavior. What they didn't realize is that your forgiveness wasn't a blank check. It came with limits. And once they crossed those limits, you didn't yell, fight, or seek revenge. You simply walked away. And that's what stings the most for them. You didn't waste energy trying to make them see their errors or begging them to change. You chose peace over their chaos, and now they're left to deal with the fallout of their own actions. No more second chances, no more grace, no more access to you. The mercy they took for granted is now a memory they can't get back. Their regret grows with each passing day because they're beginning to understand that forgiveness wasn't a weakness. It was a strength they could never match. You gave them something rare, something divine, and they mistook it for naivety. Now they're haunted by the realization that no one else will extend them the grace you did. That privilege is gone. And so are you. And the emptiness they feel now? That's the weight of their foolishness pressing down on them, a weight they'll carry forever. Number 7. They never thought you'd outgrow their small world. They never imagined a reality where you'd outgrow them. In their minds, you were neatly boxed into a version of yourself that fit their comfort, their control, their small-minded vision of who you were. They thought they had you figured out, your potential, your path, your purpose. To them, you'd always remain within their reach, tethered by the limits they imposed, playing small so you wouldn't disrupt their narrative. What a rude awakening they've had. What they didn't see, what they couldn't comprehend, was your refusal to be defined by their expectations. You weren't just growing, you were evolving. You were shedding their constraints, discarding their doubts, and stepping into a version of yourself they were never prepared for. You broke free of the image they crafted, tore down the walls they built around you, and redefined yourself on your terms. And now, as they watch you soar past every boundary they thought would contain you, they're left stunned, scrambling to understand how they missed the signs of your unstoppable transformation. Their embarrassment is palpable. It's not just your growth that stings, it's the role they played in holding you back. They underestimated you, chosen one, and now they're forced to confront the bitter truth. They spent so much time trying to keep you small, trying to control and confine you, that they missed the undeniable power within you. They were too preoccupied with their shallow judgments to recognize the divine potential that was always there, waiting to bloom. And now they're on the sidelines, spectators to a life they thought they controlled. They see you thriving, defying the limits they once placed on you, and it's a blow to their fragile egos. They see the opportunities you're seizing, the heights you're reaching, and they can't reconcile it with the version of you they thought they knew. The person they believed would always seek their approval, depend on their validation, or follow their lead has become something they can't touch, can't control, and can't diminish. The truth they now grapple with is this: you were never meant to fit their mold. While they clung to their small worldview, you saw the horizon. Where they doubted, you believed. Where they hesitated, you acted. Your growth wasn't just unexpected, it was inevitable. And now they're left behind, stuck in the shadow of your light, unable to follow because they never prepared for your evolution. You've outgrown not just their expectations, but their entire narrative. Their inability to see your potential will forever be their failure, not yours. You've risen above their doubts, their judgments, and their limitations. And now, chosen one, you stand as a testament to what happens when divine favor meets unstoppable determination. Let them watch, let them wonder, and let their embarrassment fuel your fire. Because outgrowing them wasn't just a step forward, it was the proof that you were never meant to stay in their small world. Number 8. They tried to turn their shadows into your burden. They projected their insecurities onto you because it was easier than facing the mirror. Their fears, their doubts, their failures. They didn't want to confront any of it. Instead, they took the easy way out, making you the scapegoat for their inner turmoil. In their twisted logic, tearing you down felt like the only way to dull the sting of their shortcomings. And oh, how wrong they were. It wasn't your confidence or your success that truly unsettled them. It was the way your strength illuminated their weakness. Your resilience made their fragility impossible to ignore. Your potential made their mediocrity stand out. They saw in you everything they wished they could be, and instead of being inspired, they were threatened. You became a living, breathing reminder of the things they refused to address within themselves. Rather than working to improve, they took the coward's route. They planted seeds of doubt in your mind, criticized you unfairly, and tried to make you believe that you were the one who wasn't enough. They projected their shadows onto you, hoping to dim your light so they wouldn't have to confront the darkness in their own lives. But their mistake was underestimating your strength, chosen one. They thought their words could shake your foundation, not realizing that your confidence isn't rooted in their opinions. It comes from a higher place, one they could never reach. Their insecurities weren't your burden to carry, and you refused to let them stick. You saw through their schemes and stood firm, knowing that their behavior said far more about them than it ever did about you. And while they were busy trying to drag you down, you kept growing, evolving, and thriving. Every attempt they made to rattle you only exposed their own fragility. Their criticisms, empty, their tactics, transparent, their insecurities, embarrassingly obvious. They thought they were tearing you down, but all they managed to do was reveal the cracks in their own foundation. Now they're left with the cold, hard truth. Their actions were never about you. You were just the mirror reflecting their inner struggles, and they hated the reflection. While you've risen above, stronger and more radiant than ever, they're stuck in the same cycle of self-doubt and avoidance. The weight of their unresolved issues is heavier than ever because they've lost their scapegoat. Chosen one, their behavior was a desperate attempt to shift their burden onto you. But you were never meant to carry their load. Your divine protection kept you safe from their projections, and your resilience turned their attempts at sabotage into fuel for your growth. Now, they're left to wrestle with the shadows they tried to place on you. And the embarrassment of their failure will linger as you continue to shine brighter than ever. Number 9. They never saw your transformation coming. They were blindsided by your glow-up. In their small-minded view, they couldn't imagine you becoming anything more than the version of you they once knew. The one who was still learning, still growing, still figuring life out. They thought they had you pegged, that your potential had limits, that you'd remain the same. So they dismissed you, took you for granted, and convinced themselves you'd never rise above the role they had assigned you in their minds. How utterly wrong they were. What they failed to grasp is that every challenge you faced, every setback you endured, wasn't a defeat. It was fuel. They underestimated the fire burning within you, the divine strength that carried you through moments that would have broken others. While they saw struggle, the universe was working behind the scenes, refining you, shaping you into the unstoppable force you've become. Every hardship you overcame was a brick in the foundation of the new, elevated you. Now, here you are, unrecognizable in the best way. Your glow-up isn't just a physical transformation. It's mental, emotional, and spiritual. You've stepped into a confidence so radiant, it blinds those who once doubted you. You've become a force of nature, unapologetically stepping into your power and exuding the strength of someone who knows exactly who they are and what they're capable of. You've shattered every misconception they held about you, and their shock is almost comical. They didn't prepare for this version of you because they never believed it could exist. They only valued the you that was still a work in progress, never realizing you were destined for greatness all along. They were so focused on who you used to be that they missed the brilliance of who you were becoming. And now they're left on the sidelines, watching you thrive in awe and regret, grappling with the painful truth that they completely misjudged you. Their embarrassment is undeniable. They wanted to be the ones who could say, "I always knew you had it in you." But they can't, because they didn't. They were too blinded by their arrogance, their lack of faith, and their shallow understanding of what it means to truly evolve. They thought they could write you off, but now they're witnessing a glow-up so undeniable, it's rewritten their entire narrative of who you are. Chosen one, your transformation is your vindication. You've proven that the greatest revenge isn't anger or bitterness, it's becoming everything they thought you couldn't be. Their disbelief is their punishment, and your glow-up is the loudest testament to their failure. You've risen beyond their reach, beyond their comprehension, and their inability to prepare for your greatness will haunt them for years to come. Number 10. They thought your door would always be open. They thought you'd always be there, didn't they? Like an open door they could walk through whenever they pleased, never pausing to knock or even acknowledge the gift of your presence. They assumed you were a constant, a given, someone they could lean on when it suited them, only to disappear the moment their needs were met. You were their lifeline, their safe harbor, their secret reservoir of energy and support, and they never once stopped to consider that even you have limits. For a while you played along. You gave freely, your time, your energy, your care, without hesitation. You were the shoulder to lean on, the voice of reason, the hand that held them up when their own strength faltered. They took and took, believing your availability was endless, as if your kindness was some bottomless well. But here's the thing about chosen ones. Even wells can run dry when they're drained without gratitude. And then something shifted. Slowly, quietly, you began to see their pattern, the way they dipped into your life for a quick boost, only to vanish when you needed them most. You realized that your time and energy are not infinite, nor are they owed to anyone who can't reciprocate or respect their value. That's when you made the decision that shook their entire foundation. You stopped being so accessible. You closed the door they never thought would shut. The moment you withdrew, their world shifted. They were caught off guard, scrambling to figure out how to fill the void you left behind. The access they once took for granted was gone, and with it went the ease of their selfish reliance. They thought you were a fixture, something permanent and unchanging, but now they're faced with a bitter truth. They were never entitled to you, and they've lost the privilege of your presence. What stings the most for them isn't just the loss, it's the audacity of their own assumptions. They thought they could come and go as they pleased, treating your time and energy like an unlimited resource. Now, they're left to confront the stark reality. Your presence isn't a right, it's a privilege. And privileges, once abused, are rarely restored. They fumbled you, chosen one, because they couldn't see the divine value in your accessibility. Your open door was a gift, a rare and sacred offering, and they disrespected it with their arrogance. Now, as they stand on the outside looking in, they're forced to reckon with their embarrassment. They didn't just lose access to you. They lost the favor, the grace, and the peace you brought into their lives. And you've reclaimed your energy, your time, and your boundaries, protecting them for the people who truly deserve them. Because chosen ones are not meant to be everyone's refuge. Your presence is not an endless resource. It's a rare treasure, and not everyone is worthy of it. They thought you'd always be there. Now they know better. And the silence they face without you? It's louder than anything they've ever heard. Number 11. They thought you needed their hand to climb. They truly believed they were the architects of your future, the ones holding the keys to your success. In their delusion, they thought you couldn't rise without their support, their resources, or their so-called expertise. They saw themselves as the cornerstone of your progress, as though your ambition depended on their approval or their involvement. But oh, how wrong they were. What they failed to grasp is that chosen ones don't need crutches to walk the path laid out for them by divine design. You were never dependent on them. You were simply patient, allowing them to feel important while you quietly built your own strength. They basked in the illusion of power, assuming their connections or contributions were vital. Meanwhile, you were already mapping your route to the top, knowing full well that their role in your journey was minimal, if it mattered at all. Your success wasn't born from their hands, but from your own unyielding determination. Every step you climbed, every milestone you achieved, was fueled by the fire within you, a fire they neither kindled nor could extinguish. They thought they were indispensable, but you've proven that their so-called importance was an overestimation of their worth. The resources they lorded over you turned out to be trivial compared to the boundless potential that's been with you all along. And now, as they watch you thrive without their input, the sting of embarrassment grows. They wanted to believe they were irreplaceable, that your achievements would somehow reflect their greatness. But instead, They're forced to confront the harsh truth. Your success was never about them. It was about you, the chosen one, with a destiny far beyond their comprehension. You've shown them that while they were busy inflating their own significance, you were building an empire on your terms, powered by your divine gifts and unshakable will. Their discomfort isn't just rooted in your success, it's rooted in their irrelevance to it. They've been relegated to the sidelines, mere spectators in a journey they thought they controlled. Watching you flourish without them has shattered the illusion they held so tightly. The power they thought they had over you was never real. It was an illusion that you've now dismantled with every move you make. And as you continue to rise, their embarrassment deepens. They thought they were the sun, shining light on your path, when in reality, you were the source of your own brilliance all along. Now, they're left grappling with the undeniable proof. You didn't just survive without them, you thrived. You proved that their role was minor, their impact fleeting, and their importance non-existent. Chosen ones don't wait for permission to succeed, and they certainly don't depend on those who underestimate them. Your success is a testament to your power, your vision, and the divine force guiding you. They thought you needed them to climb. Instead, you built wings and soared. Number 12. They thought they had you in their grip until you let go. They never imagined you'd walk away so easily. For so long, they operated under the delusion that they had a hold on you, a grip so tight you wouldn't dare slip free. They believed you'd stay, no matter how poorly they treated you or how little they gave in return. In their mind, your loyalty was an unshakable bond, something they could exploit without consequence. They thought you'd hesitate, falter, or cling to the connection out of fear of losing it. Oh, how wrong they were. When the time came, you didn't just walk away. You left without a shred of doubt or regret. No pleading, no drawn-out explanations, no theatrical goodbyes. Your detachment hit them like a lightning bolt, shattering their illusion of control. It wasn't just the fact that you left. It was the ease with which you did it. You didn't look back, didn't second-guess yourself. To them, it felt as if you'd emotionally checked out long before you ever physically stepped away. And the truth? You had. In their arrogance, they assumed they were irreplaceable. They thought their presence was essential to your world, that their importance to you was carved in stone. But when you walked away without hesitation, it sent their ego into a spiral. Suddenly, they were confronted with a reality they weren't prepared for. They were never as vital to you as they believed. The pedestal they built for themselves crumbled beneath the weight of their delusions. What makes it even more humiliating for them is how blindsided they were. They thought they'd have you forever, available, loyal, always willing to put up with their shortcomings. They took for granted your presence, your patience, and your willingness to give. But chosen ones don't stay where they're undervalued. You recognized your worth and refused to settle for less than you deserve. And when you decided to leave, you didn't announce it. You simply moved on, as effortlessly as shedding a weight that no longer served you. Now they're left grappling with the bitter truth. Their importance in your life was a story they told themselves, a fantasy that evaporated the moment you chose yourself. They fumbled you because they never understood your strength, the kind of strength that doesn't rely on anyone else to define it. You've shown them that your loyalty isn't blind, that your love isn't endless when it's unreciprocated, and that your patience has a limit. What they're facing now is the undeniable embarrassment of their own misjudgment. They thought they could take and take without ever losing. But you knew better. You understood that walking away wasn't a loss. It was a gain, a reclaiming of your peace, your power, and your purpose. And that, chosen one, is a strength they'll never understand and a decision they'll never stop regretting. Number 13. They never saw the treasure in front of them. In the end, the harsh truth is glaringly clear. They fumbled you because they never truly understood your worth. They looked at you but didn't see you. They assumed your presence was guaranteed, your success was tethered to their approval, and that you needed their validation to thrive. But oh, how wrong they were. Time and time again, you've shattered their illusions, leaving them in the dust of their own misjudgment. Your glow-up wasn't just a transformation, it was a revelation. The strength you displayed, the resilience you embodied, and your unapologetic independence have all become a mirror reflecting their failure. They never grasped who you truly are, and now they're haunted by their own blindness. Every step you take, every milestone you hit, is a reminder of what they lost. It's not just regret they feel, it's the sting of embarrassment. They had a front row seat to your brilliance, and they fumbled the opportunity to appreciate it. But here's the twist. They thought you'd be broken, waiting, looking back. Instead, you've shown them the exact opposite. You're too busy stepping into your power, carving your own path, and owning every bit of your greatness to even glance in their direction. You've made it abundantly clear that your success is rooted in your own strength, your divine protection, and a relentless drive they could never comprehend. The irony is crushing. They assumed they were indispensable, the center of your story. But you didn't just survive their underestimation, you thrived because of it. You didn't walk away because you couldn't handle them. You walked away because you recognized that your worth demanded more. More respect, more reciprocity, more understanding than they could ever provide. You weren't leaving behind a loss. You were stepping toward everything you deserve. The most beautiful part, your worth isn't tied to anyone else's validation. The moment they underestimated you, the moment they looked at you and thought you'd stay small, that's when your rise began. Now, they're left in the shadows of your brilliance, trying to reconcile how they missed something so unmistakable. You were the treasure they failed to protect, and now they must live with the regret of their own short-sightedness. Chosen one, their failure to understand your worth wasn't just a mistake, it was their downfall. And as you continue to thrive, their embarrassment will only grow louder. You've proven that your light doesn't depend on their recognition. It burns brighter without it. Now, they can only watch from the sidelines, knowing they'll forever remain in the shadow of the greatness they underestimated. Their regret is their burden. Your rise is your triumph. Number 14. They played themselves, thinking you'd stay the same. Their biggest mistake was believing you were static, someone who would always remain as they first saw you. They couldn't comprehend that you were in a constant state of growth, evolving into someone far beyond their limited expectations. To them, you were predictable, someone who would stay in the box they tried to confine you in. But chosen ones don't stay the same. You were never meant to fit into their narrative. You were destined to rewrite your own. They thought they had you figured out, thought you'd always be the version of yourself they felt comfortable controlling or dismissing. But while they stayed stagnant, you were transforming. Every challenge they threw your way, every underestimation, only fueled your evolution. They didn't realize that by underestimating you, they were adding fire to your growth. While they were busy underestimating, you were busy becoming. And then came the moment they looked back and didn't recognize you. The version of you they thought would always be there was gone, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and untouchable. It's embarrassing for them now, because they thought they had time, thought they could afford to play games. Instead, they played themselves. You've proven them wrong in the most beautiful way possible. You didn't just rise, you transcended. And now, they're stuck in the past, holding on to who they thought you were, while you're thriving in the present, unstoppable and unmatched. And so, chosen one, their failure was their own doing. They thought they could keep you small, predictable, and controllable. But you were always destined for more. Their underestimation is their lifelong regret, while your growth is your ultimate triumph. If you're ready to own your evolution, break free from the box. Others try to put you in and step into your divine power. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments as a declaration of your transformation. Share this with someone who needs the reminder. Chosen ones don't stay the same. They rise.